Ladies and gentlemen, our next guests come to us from the organization which received a well-deserved Distinguished Service Award yesterday. 4 years ago, the American Legion prevailed one of the most important First Amendment cases in Supreme Court history. Thanks to our friends at the First Liberty Institute, veterans can now enjoy their First Amendment freedom as they memorialize their fallen comrades. First Liberty is also largely responsible for a number of other important Supreme Court victories protecting religious freedom. The award that they are about to present is named in honor of our dearly departed friend, the American Legion's longtime National Judge Advocate, Philip Onderdonk. With us today to present that award is the Senior Counsel for First Liberty, Roger Byron.
Good morning. First Liberty has worked with the American Legion now for, I guess it's been almost 20 years, or maybe a full 20 years, defending some of our country's most beloved traditions, like the Pledge of Allegiance, our national motto, "In God We Trust," and our veterans memorials, specifically those that use religious images or religious texts, like a Star of David or a cross. And a lot of stories have come out of those 20 years. My favorite one actually starts a little over 100 years ago in the early days of the Legion in Prince George's County, Maryland. Some mothers of some soldiers that fell in the war, and some of the veterans of that war who did return home wanted to put up a memorial, a monument to the fallen men of the county. They wanted a freestanding cross, which was a popular choice in those days, and it's a popular choice now. But they weren't quite able to get it done. They couldn't get any traction on the project. And then the American Legion showed up. American Legion took over the project, erected the memorial after a Herculean effort, and what came to be known as the World War I, or the Bladensburg World War I Veterans Memorial was born. Locals call it the Peace Cross, and the Legion did it upright. It stands between 30 and 40 feet tall. You can actually see it on the slide there in the corner. 30 or 40 feet tall in a roadway right outside of Washington, D.C. And it stood there as a daily reminder of the fallen and the price of that war for almost 100 years. And then a few years back, I think it was 2014, an anti-religion extremist group filed a lawsuit in federal court to have the Peace Cross taken down and removed. They claimed that its cross shape made it a violation of the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. The Legion, represented by First Liberty Institute, rode in again, this time to defend the monument that had put up 100 years earlier. It was a 5-year legal fight. We went all the way to the Supreme Court, as you just heard, and we prevailed. The Legion and First Liberty Institute won the day. And that case not only saved and preserved the legal rights of the Peace Cross, it fundamentally changed the law and provided solid legal protections for veterans memorials all across the country. And not just veterans memorials, also many of our other traditions, like our Pledge of Allegiance, like our national motto, "In God We Trust." And one of the best parts of the story is that the official name of the case is the American Legion versus that extremist group that filed the lawsuit. Yeah. But anytime anybody talks about this case, it's known simply as the American Legion. But the good news doesn't end there, because at the same time that the Legion and First Liberty were fighting to defend the Peace Cross in Maryland, on the other side of the country, a similar fight was underway. There was a high school football coach named Joe Kennedy who had the conviction that at the end of every football game, when the players were leaving the field and everybody else was doing whatever they wanted to do, he would walk out to the 50-yard line, take a knee, and he would give thanks to God for the privilege of coaching those boys. And that became his practice. And then one day somebody pointed out to the school what he was doing, and the school told him he had to stop. He couldn't do that anymore. He wasn't allowed to pray where people could see him praying. What they may have forgotten is that before Coach Kennedy was Coach Kennedy, he was Gunnery Sergeant Joseph Kennedy, United States Marine Corps. Yeah. And so Coach Kennedy, Gunny, had a choice to make. And he made the right one. He decided he would be true to his convictions. He would continue to pray. He would continue to give thanks in the way he'd always done. And he paid the price for it. He lost his coaching position because he continued to pray. First Liberty Institute represented Coach Kennedy in another prolonged, multi-year legal fight that also ended up at the U.S. Supreme Court. And once again, we prevailed. The Kennedy case also fundamentally changed the law. It not only secured Coach Kennedy's right to take a knee on the field, it protects the rights of all government employees across the country, and, even more interesting, it provides even more protections for some of our basic, most cherished traditions, like our veterans memorials, like the Pledge of Allegiance, like our national motto, "In God We Trust." And what do you think was one of the primary cases that formed the foundation of Coach Kennedy's victory? What was one of the main cases cited by the Supreme Court in its opinion when it explained why Coach Kennedy was in the right? The American Legion. And a quick update on Coach Kennedy. If you were at the convention last year, you'll know that he received last year's Onderdonk Award. But 2 days from now, this Friday, the day after tomorrow, for the first time since his victory at the U.S. Supreme Court, Coach Kennedy will once again step on the gridiron as part of the coaching staff of Bremerton High School football team. At the end of the game, when everyone else is leaving the field and doing whatever they want to do, Coach Kennedy will walk out to the 50-yard line, take a knee, and give thanks to God for the opportunity to coach those boys, and he will do it with the full understanding and the full assurance that the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, rightly applied, protects his right to do it. And if you'd like to know more about your case, about the American Legion, or about Coach Kennedy, the best way to do it is to go to our website at firstliberty.org. I think we've got a slide, actually, that has that on there. But now we're going to show you a brief video that explains the Onderdonk Award, and we're going to meet this year's awardee.
Since our nation's founding, America's veterans have built monuments and memorials to honor our service members. But today, there's a coordinated effort to tear these memorials down. Together, First Liberty Institute and the American Legion are leading the fight to keep them standing. For example, when the Mount Soledad Veterans Memorial came under fire, we were there to protect it. When the Mojave Desert Veterans Memorial was attacked, we were there to fight for it. When the Bladensburg Peace Cross was threatened, we were there and won a Supreme Court victory that changes how judges will regard similar cases in the future. When the national motto and the pledge were challenged over "In God We Trust" and "Under God," we were there so our children and grandchildren would be able to continue these time-honored traditions. Freedom, especially religious freedom, has a great champion in the American Legion. So every year, First Liberty Institute honors a champion of freedom with the Philip B. Onderdonk Jr. Religious Liberty Award. Some give trophies. First Liberty gives a rifle. Ever since the Civil War, veterans demonstrating the highest dedication to duty have been presented with an engraved Henry repeating rifle. This fully functional firearm is a special military tribute edition made with fine walnut with an adjustable sight and a 20-inch octagonal barrel. The highly polished receiver features a 24-karat gold bald eagle bearing a shield in recognition of service to our great country. The other side depicts the iconic Statue of Liberty and Liberty Bell, enduring reminders that America is a beacon of freedom for the world and for our citizens. On the forearm, a flowing banner and shield proudly salute our military heroes. The stock is laser etched with the Onderdonk Award emblem, uniquely commemorating a champion of our religious freedom. You know, there's nothing more American than a Henry repeating rifle. And there's no greater champion of religious freedom than this year's recipient of the Philip B. Onderdonk Jr. Religious Liberty Award. First Liberty salutes your dedication to duty in the service of freedom.
And of course, we want to thank Henry Repeating Arms that donates the rifle for this award every year. Henry's proven to be a real champion of religious freedom and a real friend of the American Legion. Shields of Strength is a faith-based, family-owned, family-run business in Texas that manufactures pro-military merchandise. And the neatest thing they do is to make military replica dog tags with encouraging messages on them. Usually quotes from the Bible or encouraging messages based on something from the Bible. One of their most popular designs has the American flag on one side and the national motto, "In God We Trust." And on the other side, it'll have a soldier's insignia of a specific military unit and a quote from the Bible. One of the most popular ones is based on the book of Joshua, or part of the book of Joshua. "I will be strong and courageous. I will not be terrified or discouraged, for the Lord my God is with me wherever I go." Joshua chapter 1, verse 9. They have donated literally millions, well, over 1 million of these to the military personnel, to our servicemen and women in units over the last 20 years. And they have really resonated with military servicemen and women. At one point, 20,000 a year were going to the Marine Corps to give to the Marine Corps boot camp graduates. Entire graduating classes of West Point received them. Commanding officers of entire units were requesting them for their unit personnel. Like, for example, then General Lloyd Austin, now Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, requested thousands of them for the 3rd Infantry Division and the 10th Mountain Division. The 10th Mountain Division loved them so much it became a tradition at one point to receive a Shield of Strength commemorative dog tag. One historian said that with the exception of the insignia on their uniforms, the emblem most often carried by American military personnel in Iraq and Afghanistan was a Shield of Strength dog tag. So there's no overstating the positive impact that Shields of Strength has had on our military personnel. And they continued year after year to produce these and to get them in the hands of our servicemen and women. And then one day, the Department of Defense adopted a new policy. It was a policy hostile to religious expression. And it severely limited and severely curtailed what Shields of Strength was able to make and put on its dog tags and provide its military personnel. And then, various offices of the DoD received a complaint letter from another anti-religion extremist group complaining about Shields of Strength dog tags and asking the DoD or demanding the DoD do something about it. All because Shields of Strength had the audacity to use Bible quotes on their dog tags. And tragically, the DoD gave in to the demands. And at this point, the restrictions have been placed on Shields of Strength that effectively make it impossible for them to continue to produce these dog tags, and get them to our military personnel. That is an unnecessary tragedy. It's outrageous, but it's not the end of the story. First Liberty Institute represents Shields of Strength, and we filed a lawsuit on their behalf to turn this around and to fix this mess. So hopefully one day very soon, Shields of Strength will once again be making these dog tags to encourage our military personnel and getting them into their hands. But for now, because of their championing of religious freedom, and because of their many, many years of dedication and service to our military personnel, it's my privilege and my honor to award this year's Philip B. Onderdonk Jr. Religious Liberty Award to Shields of Strength and to its founder, Kenny Vaughn.
Wow. We're probably the only people here that haven't served our country. My family and I. My father was a soldier, and we love our nation and we love our military. And I was just a scared athlete. My wife started writing scriptures on my equipment. God didn't give me the spirit of fear, but a power, love, and a sound mind. I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me. A couple of scriptures helped me overcome fear in my life, and my dreams came true. And then I see us in war, and we're at battle, and I was looking for a personal reminder, and I just decided I went to a surplus store and bought a blank dog tag and put those scriptures on there, just one for myself. And I shared them, and then they ended up in a gift shop in Sierra Vista, Arizona. And some of the first troops deployed to Afghanistan took some of those dog tags with them. And then the request just went crazy. I couldn't believe it. You know, we really have given a couple million of them to our troops. But during that time, just so y'all have a picture, like we were sending these packages out nonstop, but we never got to see who was getting them. We never got to meet you. But we got the gifts. We got the little flag, the flags that were flown over the Pentagon, the White House, the battlefields. And the most beautiful thing about it all was that my children, my oldest is in her early 20s now, so this has been going on for 20 years. They got to grow up giving and then seeing the fruit of giving. They got to grow up doing something so special. And then seeing the difference that it made and being told that it was so right. What they did was so right. I remember Faith, one time we had some kind of software update, and I don't know anything about software. We had 400 requests that evening. We were trying to get them out, and she was 10 years old and worked through the night with us and got our software problem fixed. My daughter Grace, she was so small she couldn't work at our table, so she had a little Barbie, plastic table she worked at. Kennedy, my son, 5 years old, he would cut up summer sausage and cheese and make us snacks. And so they got to grow up in all of this. But the worst part to me about what's been going on is that they've been told that what they did that was so right was somehow wrong. And then they've watched us be told to stop doing it. And so this is really special to us because they're here today. My family, would you please stand up quickly? Thank you. And so what they were reminded of today is that what they did that was so right really was. And we're so grateful for First Liberty. There's a lot of people do a lot of things, but I think nothing could be more valuable than what they're doing. And so thank you so much. Thanks for the gift, and thank you all so much for your service. And I'm gonna leave you with this. The most valuable thing I ever learned in my life was that love was not a feeling, it was a choice. It was a decision to do what was truly best for someone else without regard for yourself. It's what you do. And that love's greatest enemy is fear. So love always does what's best for others without regard for itself. And fear will do what's best for itself without regard for others. And so I encourage you to keep living a loving life. You're an example for our nation, and we love you. God bless you.